A pay-what-you-can nonprofit cafe with a goal of combating and educating about local hunger, providing a free culinary training program designed to get people back to work and ultimately bring the entire community together over amazing food. A local organization with a history of giving back to Polk County communities is opening up one in Bartow, and their story is coming up on Polk Place. I'm Bill Skelton. I'm the host of this episode of Polk Place, and joining me in the studio is Libby Comby. She's the Executive Director of Leland Family Ministries and the Mosaics Community Cafe. Libby, welcome.
Thank you.
Joining Libby on the sofa is Mikkel Dormany. She's the Marketing and Community Outreach Director of Leland Family Ministries and the Mosaics Community Cafe. Mikkel, welcome.
Thank you.
Libby, let's start with you. Could you give us a generalization of what the cafe is going to bring to the community, what the purpose, what the mission is, and how the local community is going to benefit from the cafe's operation?
Well, the mission is to address food insecurity and fight local hunger here in Polk County. We have found over the past 19 years at Leland Family Ministries that there are a lot of people in need in our community just for a simple thing as a meal to eat. And so it's a national model. There are 50 community cafes around the country. There is currently not one in the state of Florida, so we will be the first ones. There is a...
So you're breaking new ground right here in Bartow.
We are. It's a pay-as-you-can cafe, so there's no prices on the menu. There's a suggested donated amount. The way the national model works, about 60% of the people that come in will pay the suggested donated amount. About 20% will pay more as a give back, and about 20% will pay less or nothing. Those that cannot afford their meal have an opportunity to volunteer at our community center, and they volunteer for an hour and they receive a token that then they can use as currency at the cafe for their meal.
So they can redeem the token for food?
Absolutely.
Now, is the Mosaics Community Cafe, is it open to the public?
Yes, it is. Absolutely. The public is who we provide services for at Leland Family Ministries. The majority of the people that sit at our tables every day to eat and receive of our food distribution program are not homeless drug addicts. There are lots of senior citizens that are living on a fixed income that can't afford to dine out at a local restaurant. And there's also the working poor, people that are going from paycheck to food pantry. We have single parents out there raising their children and just can't afford to take them for a fine dining experience, but they certainly can bring their family in and promote volunteerism and instill that in their children, and then receive their tokens and take them out to eat.
So what might they find typically on the menu?
Well, there's a lot of really neat things coming on board. It's going to be a very trendy restaurant. One of our signature meats is going to be rotisserie chicken. Because of the culinary arts program that we'll be starting at the cafe. Chicken is just a really neat opportunity for them to get very creative, the culinary students. It also, we're going to have some baked bread. We're going to serve breakfast and lunch, so the restaurant will be open from 6 to 2. And then we've got some signature dishes. We've hired an executive chef who is not from Florida. He's actually on his way here from Indiana, so he will be here next week. And so he's just got a lot of secrets up his sleeve, and you just have to come and visit to find out. It
sounds delicious. I'll have to happen by one time and try the board of fare. Mikkel, can you give us a little background on Leland Family Ministries and how it came to sponsor or open this Mosaics Community Cafe?
Sure. Leland Family Ministries was created 19 years ago. We're not new to Polk County or to Bartow specifically. We've been here for 19 years. And it started as an organization who was really dealing with youths that were incarcerated that were ex-offenders, and ex-offenders. They were And we created a drug program, a recovery program, a 12-step faith-based program that's similar to NA or AA. It's called Recovery for Life. And we started reaching out and connecting, and from there were adults that that we started working in the prison and jail system with, as well as people in the community were attending these classes. We discovered that a lot of the people who were attending these classes needed a hot meal, and so we started providing food about 9 years ago to accompany those recovery classes that we were doing. Then we discovered that they probably could go home. They needed some emergency food resources as well, and that's how our food pantry was formed, and again, that was about 9 years ago. As we started doing that, and as you start to provide food for people, people who need food find you. And so that's how our food pantry was created and became another outreach of Leland Family Ministries that really at the time was a recovery ministry. And so then it began to branch out. 5 years ago, we relocated into a building on Main Street, and it's a large building. And when we moved into that, the focus of the organization again changed, and it became a community and recovery resource center. So now recovery is just 1/5 of what we do there. We have a thrift store, so we do reentry services. We have the food pantry. Last year we fed 5,025 people. We distributed over 17,000 pounds of food in this community. We have our community outreach, which works with senior citizens in our community as well as adolescents. And then we have a HEAL program, Healthy Eating Active Lifestyles. And that includes a free gym and free personal trainer, because a lot of people who are dealing with life struggles, that's on the back burner. And a lot of people in addictions will put down a drug or alcohol addiction and pick up a food addiction, not realizing that they've turned to food, and that's still an issue for them. So we want to provide them the resources, the emergency resources that people in the community need, and then the tools that they need to get out of that situation if they choose to make a change. And so that's what segued us into opening the restaurant. The one area of the 5 elements of our ministry that we probably could have done a better job engaging people to make some changes was in our feeding, the direct feeding that we were doing at the community center, those 5,025 meals that we provided. A lot of those people would come in and have the meal before a recovery meeting. A lot of people would come in and have that meal that should have stayed or partaked in some of the other programs that we have, but they didn't. So this cafe allows us an opportunity to empower people to pay for their food. And that in itself is powerful. When people want to be able to pay for those basic needs that they have. It's a basic human need, paying for food, and so now they'll have an opportunity to still get a hot meal. Anybody can come in for that hot meal, but they will have to volunteer for 1 hour. And giving back is an important part of a recovery program. And again, it's not just reaching the people in recovery. And our food pantry distribution line, I would say maybe 1% of the people in that line that we meet every month are homeless. The rest of them are working poor. They're people with a job who are working from paycheck to food pantry line, and they are seniors on a fixed income. So we're real excited about partnering with some of those guys and giving them an opportunity to come and have an amazing meal in an environment and a social setting with people that may not be from their typical social circle, where they can come and sit at the table with you and I and other people, and we can have conversations about things such as the Super Bowl, or different things that are happening, so that on their mind isn't where they're going to sleep tonight, or how am I going to pay that next bill? How am I going to keep my electricity on? And that, through the very essence of the restaurant and the community seating, will have a mentorship that will happen there. You won't realize that you're mentoring to somebody, and in return you may be mentored to also. And so that's kind of the emotion behind the restaurant. Ultimately, it's to give anybody who needs a meal an opportunity to volunteer for it. And then we have our culinary training program, which is 10 students per quarter. Anybody who wants to be a part of that can be. It will be through the Professional Chef book. It is patterned after Metropolitan Ministries in Tampa. And when they come out of that program, they'll have everything that they need to be above an entry-level position with a certification, be able to promote those employees to the local restaurants. We will have built a relationship with them because we'll know their work ethic, and And then the community can feel comfortable that when they come in there and they buy a meal, which will be amazing, the food will be amazing. We've already sampled it at the farmers market every Wednesday for the last 3 months, and people love it. So when they come in and they get that food, all of the profits from the restaurant will go back into our community center to provide to increase our food box distribution to those folks that really are trying their hardest and they just can't make ends meet. There's really nothing more that they can do, so we can help them with the food.
So you're just not feeding people. You're providing food for their soul.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you were talking about this. Libby was mentioning, and you kind of followed up on this culinary training opportunity that you're providing. Is that also going to help to staff the cafe?
The way that the cafe economic model works in the other cafes throughout the state is that you hire or throughout the United States, you hire 2 staff people, a front of the house manager and a professional chef. The rest of the fill-in will be our culinary students. They will work in the cafe in the morning for hands-on, and then in the afternoon is when they'll do their book work. We're only open from 6 a.m. until 2 p.m. and then from 2 to 4 the dining room will be closed, but we're going to encourage middle school and high school students to come there for happy hour and a safe place for them to come and do homework, and we'll price all of the menu items down for the day so that they'll have an opportunity to come in and have fellowship there during the afternoon. Also help to move some of the product that we've had from the day. So
that's a pretty impressive list of programs and obviously positive benefit you're trying to bring to bear on the community. As we were discussing earlier, hunger is widespread, and a lot of people overlook it. And of course, food is fundamental for well-being, but you just don't stop with food. You have these occupational opportunities. You're providing social and learning opportunities for students. And so far as the demographic, you're really addressing everybody.
Absolutely.
From students to seniors.
Yes.
So, and it looks like it's I hate to say this, a soup to nuts program. You guys really have a lot of things at play here that kind of the cafe provides the place, the setting. So, and if it's open to the public, there's a lot of people that's obviously going to benefit from it. Now, you mentioned the hours of the cafe. Could you remind us again the days of the week that it operates and the time of the day?
Monday through Friday. In the morning, it will be a coffee shop / place to get breakfast, and then it will transition into lunch. In the afternoons, will be closed at 2 o'clock. The dining room will be, but open again to the middle and high school students. And then on Sundays, we'll be open from 12 to 2, right after church. And we're going to do some unique things with that as well. We have community seating there with large tables. So when you come in, you may be seated with people that you don't know.
I see.
And so on Sundays, we may actually ask mix it up a little and do some unique things, like maybe asking your denomination at the door. So if, say you were Baptist and you were Catholic and maybe have a different type of religion come in, we may mix them up a little bit. So you're seated with even people. The concept of the cafe, and the reason why it's called Mosaics, is that to build a beautiful mosaic, you have to take all the pieces, not just the shiny, pretty ones or the ones from this social status that you may find at this restaurant or that restaurant. You have to take all the pieces, even the broken ones sometimes, or the ones that aren't quite as shiny today. When you bring them all together, a wonderful artist can actually create a masterpiece when you do that, and that's what it's about. It's about bringing the entire community together, because one of the things we found out at the community center is that we work with that 18-year-old working out in the gym, and we also work with that 80-year-old who comes there for fellowship, and they need each other. The 18-year-old needs the 80-year-old as much, and vice versa. And so I think this is going to be a great social experiment, and bringing everyone together.
Well, Mosaics is certainly a great metaphor for what you're trying to achieve here, and I certainly appreciate you joining us today to share information about Mosaics Community Cafe and the great things that you hope to bring to the community. And like you say, it's just not for one person. It's for, I guess, all people.
Absolutely.
So, you can't make a mosaic out of, one piece, one color. It has to be different, and then collectively, like you say, it builds something beautiful. And hopefully it's sustainable. Hopefully it's going to work in our community, and I'm sure it's going to do great things, and the folks will benefit it, particularly the people who, like you mentioned, could use a good meal, people that might find it ordinarily difficult to go to a restaurant. So you're providing a great place for them to go to, and I wish you the best of luck and much success in your endeavor. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Mosaics Community Cafe is a pay-what-you-can nonprofit cafe with the goal of combating and educating about local hunger, providing a free culinary training program designed to get people back to work, and ultimately bring the entire community together over amazing food. Anyone can obtain a meal token valued at $10 in exchange for 1 hour of volunteer work, either at our community center or within the cafe, which is located at 315 East Main Street in Bartow. They're open from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, and Sunday from noon to 2 p.m. For more information on Mosaics Community Cafe, check them out on Facebook at Mosaics Community Cafe.